As I started to stir from sleep, the aching in my neck made me groan with pain. Ugh, I must have slept in a really strange position. I feel awful. I tried to stretch out my arms to relieve some of the tension in my body, but instead of feeling the soft comfort of my bedding, my hand hit something hard. My eyes shot open. Where am I? I could hardly see a thing. All I could feel was hard wood beneath me. A chink of light was coming through a hole in the side of the wood, so I pulled myself upright and looked through the hole. Oh my God! I cried out in shock and fell back against the hard wooden side. Am I in some strange kind of dream or something? I looked out of the hole again as I saw the scene before me. I knew that it was no dream. All I could see spread out before me was a vast ocean. It went on and on towards the horizon. My heart started beating madly and panic rose through my body. I started shouting and screaming, "Help! Help! Please, someone help me!" I felt around me. I was obviously in some kind of crate, but I had no idea how I could have gotten here. I began hammering on the sides of the crate. "Help! Help! I'm stuck in this box! Please help!" I looked through the hole in the box to see if there was any sign of life, but I couldn't see anyone. I slumped down onto the floor, tears flowing from my eyes. Suddenly, I heard the sound of footsteps nearby. I jumped up and looked through the hole. Sure enough, I could see some people coming towards the crate. "Help! Help!" But instead of coming to help me, they just stood there, laughing at me. What am I doing here? I demand to know. Where are my parents?
Your parents are the ones who put you in here.
But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, or you might end up just being shipped off like me. I should probably start at the beginning so the story makes more sense. My life was pretty normal, to be honest. I got on well at school and had many friends. I didn't have the best relationship with my parents, but it was okay. Nothing extraordinary ever really happened until the time my cousin came to visit one weekend.
Diana, your cousin Liam is coming to visit. We want you to make him feel welcome, okay?
Yeah, sure, he can come out and hang out with me and my friends. But when I met Liam, I thought he was a bit creepy. The first thing he did when he arrived at our house was go straight into the kitchen and start drinking pickle juice. Ew, that's gross.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
No thanks.
So, when am I going to meet all of your friends?
Even though I thought he was a bit weird, I had promised my parents I would be nice to him, so I decided to give him a chance. We're going to go hang out this afternoon. You can come with us if you like.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
But when I introduced him to my friends, he started acting all weird again. He kept on taking photos of them without asking. At one point, he actually picked up my friend's drink and took a sip of it. I mean, who does that? But that wasn't the worst thing he did. One day, we were hanging out in my room, just the two of us, when he suddenly leant in and tried to kiss me. Of course, I pushed him away. Ew, gross. What are you doing? You're my cousin.
But this is what we are supposed to do.
I stared at him, a confused look on my face. What do you mean? He explained to me that our parents had arranged for us to get married. But we're only 16.
It doesn't matter. Our parents are forcing us to do it.
But why? Liam explained that his parents were the head of a criminal gang in a foreign country.
And your parents are the head of a criminal gang in this area. By getting married, we would be joining both gangs into an unbeatable organisation. We would rule the streets, take over all crime and control the police.
I was so shocked, I couldn't believe what he was saying could be true. I decided I would confront my parents. When I told them what Liam had told me, they denied everything.
Liam is lying, Diana. I have no idea why he would say such a terrible thing. Please just ignore him.
I breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, it wasn't true. I had known all along that Liam was weird. I should never have doubted my parents.
I think it's for the best if Liam leaves now. We'll tell him to get his things together.
Liam didn't look very happy when my dad told him he should go, but he went up to his room and started packing his bags. I felt a bit sorry for him, so I decided I would go up and apologize to him and say goodbye. When I got to his room, he had his back to me. Hey, Liam, no hard feelings. I just want to say goodbye. Liam turned around to face me, but as he did, I suddenly felt something hit me in the face. Liam had sprayed me with some kind of liquid. I immediately started to feel sleepy, and then I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in some kind of wooden box. My body was stiff and my neck ached. Where am I? What's going on? There was a hole in the side of the box and sunlight shone through. When I looked through the hole, I could see the ocean. I'm on a ship in the middle of the ocean? But how did I get here? What's going on? I was so confused. I began shouting through the hole. Help! Help! Eventually, someone came to help me, but what they told me was the biggest shock of my life. They told me that it was my parents that had put me into the crate. You're lying! Let me out of here right now!
We'll be docking in a couple of hours. Then you'll be let out of the crate. Until then, you'll behave yourself if you know what's good for you.
I didn't really have much choice but to do what they told me. Eventually, I heard the engine stopping and the ship came to a halt. A few minutes later, someone came and opened the crate.
Come with us.
They led me off the ship and put me into a van. They drove for about 10 minutes. When we stopped, they took me out of the van and put me into some kind of warehouse. I hadn't been there very long when Liam came in with an older couple.
Diana, these are my parents, your future parents-in-law.
I was so shocked I could hardly say a word. Hello?
You will stay here until we get married. Don't worry, you'll be well looked after.
I couldn't believe what was happening to me. I began to feel really desperate. How could my parents have sold me off like this? I wanted to scream, but I knew that it wouldn't do me any good. Instead, I decided I would just have to play along with them, make them think that I had accepted the situation. I needed some time to come up with a plan.
My parents are going to get everything organised for our wedding. It will take a few weeks to get it all planned.
That's okay. It'll give us time to get to know each other better. I gave Liam what I hoped was a sweet smile. It seemed to work because he grinned back at me.
See, I knew you'd come around eventually. Once we are married, our families will be the biggest criminal organisation in the world.
Liam and his parents left the room. Once they were out of sight, I slumped down onto the floor and started sobbing. I had no idea how I was going to get out of it, but there was no way I was marrying Liam. I don't know how long I sat there crying, but eventually the tears dried up and I wiped my eyes. Crying isn't going to get me out of this predicament. I need to come up with a plan. I began to look around the room, trying to see if there was any way out, but there was only one door, and it was locked from the outside. It's no use. I'm never gonna get out of here. Suddenly, I heard a key turning the lock. Oh no, that must be Liam coming back. But when the door opened, it wasn't Liam. It was another boy, probably a couple of years older than me. I recognized him as one of the people I had seen on the ship. He must work for Liam's parents.
Here, I've brought you some food.
He handed me a plate of food and a glass of water. Thank you. What's your name? He looked at me a little hesitantly, but then he said,
I'm Joe.
Diana. He smiled at me and then left the room. I didn't feel hungry at all, but I knew that if I wanted any chance of escaping, I had to keep my energy levels up. I forced the food down. Once I had finished, I began to think about how I could escape. I didn't see much of Liam or his parents for the next few days. They were obviously busy with preparations for our wedding. But when Liam did pop in to see me, I made sure that I gave him a big smile. I didn't want him to get suspicious or think that I wasn't happy about our forthcoming wedding. But apart from Liam, the only person I saw was Joe. Every day, he was the one that brought me my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I began to look forward to seeing him. One day when he brought me my lunch, I asked him to stay for a while. Please, don't rush off. I'm lonely here on my own. It would be nice to have someone to chat to.
I'm not really sure if I should do that.
Why not? We're not doing anything wrong, are we?
I guess not.
After that, Joe began to spend more time with me. We became really good friends. I'm so happy to have you as a friend, Joe. I'd go crazy here all by myself if I didn't have you to talk to.
I'm happy too, Diana. I really like you.
When I heard his words, my heart skipped a beat. I wondered if Joe might be the solution to my problem. I thought about it for a while and then decided I would take a chance. Joe, will you help me to escape from here? Joe looked at me in surprise.
What? What do you mean? Don't you want to marry Liam?
No, I don't.
But when Liam comes here, you always seem so happy to see him.
That's just an act. I have to pretend that I'm happy about getting married to him, but really, I just want to get away from here. I knew that I was taking a big risk telling Joe the truth. After all, he was working for Liam's parents. But he was my only chance. If he didn't help me escape, then I would have no choice but to marry Liam. Please, Joe, I'm begging you. Please, say you'll help me. I held my breath and waited as Joe thought about it.
Okay, I will help you.
I let out my breath. Thank you, Joe, thank you.
Give me a day to make some arrangements, okay?
I nodded. That night, I could hardly sleep a wink. I wanted to trust Joe, but in the back of my mind was a slight worry that he might go back on his promise. But I didn't have anything to worry about. The next morning when the door opened, Joe came in with a big smile on his face.
Come on, we're getting you out of here. I've checked everywhere and the coast is clear. Liam and his parents are nowhere to be seen.
Joe held out his hand to me and I grabbed hold of it. He gave me a huge grin and squeezed my hand.
You're going to be safe with me. I will look after you.
We ran out of the building as fast as we could. I had no idea where Joe was taking me, but I trusted him. We ran and ran. Eventually, I could see the harbor in front of us.
Come on, I have a boat waiting for us.
We jumped onto the boat. Joe started the engine up and we began to sail out of the harbor and into the ocean. The land behind began to fall further and further away, taking me away from my past, and Joe from his too. I turned to look forward as we sailed on. I had a really good feeling that we were sailing towards a much brighter future. Joe took hold of my hand and we both smiled at each other. I had never felt happier in my life.